Today we're going to continue looking at lesson 9.3, which is about solving by graphing. So here's our first example. It says find the solutions to the equation by graphing negative x squared minus 4x minus 5 equals 0. So remember, our thought process here is in order to solve by graphing, we got to graph first. So we want to identify the A, the B, and the C terms so we can start doing that. A is always attached to the x, to the x squared, which means that -1 is the number that's in front of x squared. B is always the number that's in front of x, so that would be -4 in this case. And then C is going to be -5. Remember, once we've identified all of those, we want to determine the axis of symmetry, which we need A and B for. So I want x to equal -b. So now in parentheses, I'll put -4. And I'm going to divide that by 2 times A. So in parentheses, I'll put -1. So if I look at the numerator, we have back-to-back negatives. A negative times a negative is going to make that number positive. So we'll have 4 on the top. 2 times -1 is going to be -2. And 4 divided by -2 would be -2. So since x equals -2 is the axis of symmetry, we need that information. That goes in the middle of our table. And then we want to pick numbers to the left and to the right of it so we can find all of the numbers to create our ordered pairs for this problem. So remember, to the left means we want smaller negatives like -3 and -4. To the right means we're heading towards positive, so -1 and 0. All right, so remember, those are going to be the first numbers in my ordered pairs. And we're going to plug those numbers into all of the x's in order to create the rest of the ordered pairs. So notice that even though it says equals 0, when we're creating our table, it's really y equals. And so we've got 2 x values that we're going to substitute these in for. So we're going to have y equals, we'll have the negative sign, and then in parentheses, -4 quantity squared, minus 4 times -4 in parentheses, minus 5. Once again, if you type that all into your calculator, just make sure that you are putting it in exactly how you have it written right here. So when I do all of that, looks like we're going to get -5. So we've got the ordered pair, -4, -5. So that means we move 4 to the left and then 5 down, and we can plot that point. Moving on, I'm now going to substitute -3 in. So we'll have the negative and then in parentheses, -3 squared minus 4 times -3 in parentheses minus 5. Once again, I'm going to just carefully type all of that into my calculator, putting it exactly how I have it written right there, not losing any parentheses. And it looks like we will get -2. So -3 means I move to the left 3, and -2 means we move down 2, and I plot my point. Now I'm going to plug in -2. So we've got the negative and then -2 quantity squared minus 4 times -2 minus 5. So carefully type all of that into the calculator. And it looks like we get -1. So -2 goes 2 to the left, -1 means 1 down. Now I'm going to very carefully substitute -1 into this expression. And so let's see what we get there. Looks like we'll get -2. And notice that that checks out because I do want the second and the fourth y values to be the same. So I move 1 to the left and 2 down. And then finally, when I plug in 0, we'll have negative and then 0 squared minus 4 times 0 minus 5. Notice that all the terms that contain 0 essentially are going to cancel, and that's going to leave you then with -5. So 0 means I don't move left or right. I'm just moving down to the -5 on the y-axis. So notice that here is my lovely parabola. If I wanted, I could draw in the axis of symmetry. Remember, it is that vertical line that goes through the vertex. Notice that this problem is asking for us to find the solutions. And so that means we're looking at where does the graph touch the x-axis. Looks like this problem, if I'm looking at the x-axis, the parabola doesn't touch it at all. So that means that our solutions would be no real solutions. Okay, let's take a look at another one. Let's find the solutions to the equation x squared plus 8x plus 12 equals 0. So once again, the process, we want to identify a, b, and c. A is always connected to the x squared, so that would be 1. B is always connected to the x, so that is 8. And then c is the constant, so 12. I'm going to use those numbers a and b to find the axis of symmetry. So x equals negative and then the b, which is 8. And I'm going to divide that by 2 times a, which is 1. So it looks like we'll have a negative 8 in the numerator. 2 times 1 is 2. When I divide, I'll get negative 4. So that's what's going to go in the middle of my table. And then we pick values to the left and to the right. So smaller numbers would be negative 5 and negative 6. Bigger numbers would be negative 3 and negative 2. Once again, there are 2 different x values. So those are going to be the spots where we plug in those numbers. The start of our ordered pairs are always the x values that we will be plugging in. Once again, notice that I'm always creating parentheses around my numbers because that's what an ordered pair is. All right, so I'm going to substitute negative 6 in very carefully. So parentheses, negative 6 squared plus 8 times negative 6 in parentheses plus 12. So if I type this very carefully into the calculator, looks like we are going to get 0. So negative 6, 0 means that I move 6 to the left and then I do not move up or down, so it's going to stay there. So now I'm going to do negative 5. So in parentheses, negative 5 squared plus 8 times negative 5 plus 12. So once again, I'm going to very carefully type what I have written into my calculator, making sure not to lose any parentheses. And it looks like we get negative 3. So negative 5 means I move 5 to the left. Negative 3 means we move down 3. Now I'm going to move on to negative 4. So we'll have negative 4 quantity squared plus 8 times negative 4 plus 12. So if I type that into the calculator, looks like we'll get negative 4. So negative 4 means we move 4 to the left. Then negative 4 means we move down 4. Plot my point. Going to substitute in negative 3 and then carefully type that into the calculator. We should hopefully already know what the answer should be, but we're going to just do it anyway to double check, make sure that we are indeed correct. Because if we got a number that was not like that second y value here, so my answer should be negative 3. But if it isn't, that means that we either found our axis of symmetry incorrectly because we don't see that mirror image, or that just shows that we made a mistake somewhere along the ways and we got to go back and check our math. But it is looking like I'm getting negative 3, which checks out good. So negative 3 means 3 to the left. Negative 3 means 3 down. Plot my point. And then finally, if I substitute in negative 2, once again, we should know what the answer is going to be based off of the previous answers in our table, but I would still type it into the calculator just to double check, and we get 0. So negative 2 means I move 2 to the left. 0 means I do not move up or down. I can connect those points. Notice that it forms that nice U shape. Oops, make sure you actually hit every point. Man, I'm making mistakes today. Okay, so every point is hit. I got my arrows. There's my parabola. Once again, you could technically draw in then the axis of symmetry, which would be x equals -4, goes through the vertex. But here they're just asking for our solutions. So remember, solutions means look at the x-axis. How many times does it touch? Notice that in this, it touches twice. And so we're going to write our solutions as ordered pairs. So it'll be -6, 0. And it looks like -2, 0. And there are my solutions.